Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Happy Small Business Week. We are very excited that you've joined us on this Wednesday afternoon. I am joined by Brett Owens of LeadDyno today, and we are very excited because we don't always get a special guest on our webinars. So we're going to be talking about influencer and affiliate marketing today. So if that's the webinar you came to see, you are in the right place. So I'm Christy Vachon, and I am the Senior Content and Community Manager at CreateJoy, which means that I am responsible for creating all sorts of educational content to make our merchants more successful. Things like e-guides, blog posts, and webinars just like this. I'm going to pass it on over to Brett now so he can tell you a little bit more about who he is and what he does at LeadDyno.
Well, thanks, Christy. And I'm Brett Owens, co-founder and marketing director here at LeadDyno. So it's a company we started 6 years ago out of another startup that I had where we developed it to focus on affiliate referral and then increasingly influencer marketing things. So we'll talk about techniques today, things that I've done, things that I've seen our customers do successfully in terms of scaling, starting, managing influencer marketing efforts.
Awesome. So I asked the question in our private Facebook group, Subscription School, if they had any questions for you about influencer marketing, and we got so many questions. So yeah, this is going to be a good webinar. We had over 150 people sign up for it. So it's going to be a party. So if you have never seen one of our webinars before, here's how it works. Right now, you see myself and Brett's face, but in just a minute, we're going to switch on over to a PowerPoint presentation where we're going to go through a little bit of the basics of influencer marketing. Then I'm going to ask Brett those hard-hitting questions that we got from the Subscription School Facebook group. And then after that, we're going to open it up to questions from you. Okay, and so here's what I want you to do. If at any point in the presentation, you have a question for myself or for Brett, I want you to click on the Q&A icon at the bottom. Please don't put your questions in the chat box because that gets filled with all sorts of conversations and then we lose them. So if you have a question, put it in the Q&A box. And at the end, Brett and I will hit up those questions and answer them live. In the meantime, I'm going to head on over to the PowerPoint presentation right now. But what I want you to do is in the chat box, go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from, what city, state, country you are from. I always love to see who's with us and who's joining us. So I'm going to go to the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to shut off my video because I talk with my hands and it is very distracting for you guys, all right? So I'm going to do that right now while you guys are in the chat box. Oh, it's already blowing up. Yes, exciting stuff. All right. Share that screen. I'm going to stop my video. I want to see who's in the chat box. Where are y'all from? Alaska. What's up, Christy? We got San Jose, California, Utah, Michigan, Atlanta, Iowa, Raleigh, Austin. What's up, Sarah? We're practically neighbors. Seattle. We got another one from Austin, California, another one from Alaska. How is it possible to have two people from Alaska? You guys are just very interested in influencer marketing apparently up there. We got Florida, Indianapolis, Michigan. Okay, you guys, we have people from both coasts, all corners of the US. Did I see anyone from a different country? Maybe not, but that's okay. Time zones are a little iffy. Okay, so I'm gonna shut down the chat now so I can concentrate on what we're here to do today. So we're talking about influencer and affiliate marketing for your small business because after all, it is Small Business Week. So we are celebrating you today. So you are in the right place today if you are a small business owner, whether you're a subscription box entrepreneur or you've just started your own small business and you're looking to reach a new audience. Aren't we always looking to reach a new audience? And you're interested in working with influencers. Maybe you've heard it's a really great way to get in front of a new audience. And maybe marketing is not your thing, running your businesses, but you still want to learn the mechanics of how to get in front of people. So if you were able to say yes to any of those, then you are in the right place and you're going to learn a lot today. Speaking of what we are going to learn, here are the main points. We're going to talk about what is influencer marketing, how to find influencers, what to pay these influencers. That's like the $1 million question. And then we're going to talk about some of the best practices. And as I mentioned, after all of that, we're going to talk to Brett from LeadDyno and answer some of the questions that y'all have already given me, and then answer your live questions. So again, that's going to happen at the end. And for those of you who are tuning in right now and can't stay until the end, don't worry, because this webinar is being recorded and we will be putting it up on our CrateJoy YouTube page tomorrow. We'll also be sending it out and putting it in the Subscription School Facebook group. So there's lots of opportunities to catch up if you have to run out. But I think we're hoping to make this about 30 to 45 minutes. So if you can just hang tight, you're about to learn a lot, okay? So what is influencer marketing? Guys, we live in a day now where someone with a teenager with a YouTube account can be considered an influencer, right? So no longer are influencers considered like athletes or celebrities or magazines or authors or television shows. It could be a teenager who's showing how they make slime on YouTube, and all of a sudden they have this large following and they've become an influencer. How crazy yet cool is that, right? So this influencer marketing that you're hearing more and more about is really the modern day version of celebrity endorsements. But the nice thing is, in this day and age, anybody can be considered a quote unquote celebrity. So some of the benefits of influencer marketing for your small business, okay? First of all, it's to get in front of your target market. And so we're going to talk about how to identify influencers in your category, in your niche, so that you can get in front of more people who are interested in your products or your services. Then working with influencers gives your business social proof, right? So if someone is following an influencer on Instagram and all of a sudden they see this influencer posting about your business or your products, they're going to be very interested in it, right? So then you all of a sudden have this like social clout that you can use, which is pretty cool. And the nice thing, it's almost like you could use it as a testimonial too. You could take their social post, if you're working with an influencer, and spread that all over. Put it in your email newsletter, put it on your website, you know, tweet it out, put it on your own Instagram. You can actually, when you work with influencers, you can use whatever content they create for your own marketing collateral in other channels. So it's very cool that way. Then there are some definite SEO benefits to working with influencers. And so for those of you who don't know, SEO stands for search engine optimization, right? It's essentially the wizardry that happens that gets your website to the top of Google when someone searches a keyword or phrase that's relevant to your business. And so what happens is anytime another website links to your website, Google sees that as a thumbs up or a vote for your site, right? So the more links you have pointing to your site from other websites means that Google is going to trust your website more and therefore serve it up in search results. And you can accomplish those inbound links by working with different influencers, especially if they are bloggers, because they will likely write about your business. And in that write-up, they will likely link to your business and to your website. And again, that's giving you what we call Google juice. And the more Google juice your website has, the higher that it's going to come up in search rankings. And guys, there is nothing better than getting traffic from Google because it's essentially free, right? So I'm not talking about Google ads. I'm just talking about ranking in the first page of Google. That's just free traffic for your business. And it should always be one of your goals to optimize your search engine optimization. And working with influencers can do that. And lastly, working with influencers can be a low-cost marketing channel. And again, this is depending on who you work with and what you're trying to do. But you can accomplish a lot with a smaller budget, right? So maybe you're intimidated by Facebook ads and Google ads because you know you're going to be spending a lot of money for things that may not convert. Working with influencers can be less expensive than that. And so that's why it might be a really good idea for those of you who, you know, own a small business to at least try working with some influencers. So some of the things that you can do with influencers, right? So our main goal, of course, is always to get more sales. We want more sales to our product or our services. Absolutely, I understand that completely. But there are other things that you can work with influencers. And those things are like, maybe you want to be introduced to a new audience, right? So maybe all of a sudden, your company is now carrying a brand new product that actually would suit a new audience. versus the one that you've already been targeting. Working with influencers can kind of give you that into this new audience. Also, maybe you just want them to share your social media content, right? So you can actually work with influencers in a way that's not like, hey, will you drive traffic to my website? Maybe it's just, hey, will you regram my Instagram post, or will you retweet my tweet, or will you share my Facebook status on your Facebook page? So sometimes it's just as simple as wanting them to share your social media content, or share your content upgrades. So I know a lot of the subscription box entrepreneurs and small businesses will sometimes offer something like a free ebook or a guide, right? And so you do that in exchange for their email address. But what you can do is have these influencers actually promote that freebie to their audience, so that way, if they're interested in your freebie or your guide or your ebook, they'll go to your landing page, put in their email, and now you have access to that influencer's audience, right? So it's really great. There's just a lot of things you can do with influencers outside of promoting your product. The other thing you can do is you can partner with them for giveaways. And so we see this a lot, especially in the beginnings, where small businesses will partner with influencers and they'll do a giveaway. You know, the influencer will promote the giveaway to their audience, and maybe they'll get a kickback from the giveaway, or maybe they're just getting some product in exchange. So you can do giveaways with like strategic partners as well. These are all different ways that you can work with influencers. And there's all different ways that they'll want to be compensated as well. And we'll talk about that in a few slides. And so let's talk about how to find influencers, because again, that's like the $64,000 question. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm interested, but how do I find these people in my niche? So the first thing I would say is like, figure out who your target market is, right? So if you are starting, for example, if you have a beauty subscription box, you know that you're going after beauty lovers, right? Who are those beauty lovers following on Instagram? Who are they watching on YouTube? You need to figure that out, and then you reach out to those influencers, right? So it's first identifying who your target audience is, and then figuring out who they're following on social media. The other thing you can do is, for example, if you have a beauty subscription box, just go to Google and type in top 50 beauty blogs. Listen, and this is not just for beauty. This is any niche. There are listicles about, you know, the best blogs in any vertical all over the place. So you are likely going to find something that fits your category. And then it's up to you to reach out to these top 50 blogs and see how you could work with them in some capacity for your business. And the other thing that you can do, which is actually really smart, is Google gifts for your business, right? And so here's kind of where the SEO meets the influencers. So you're going to Google for, let's just use the example of a beauty box, right? So we're going to Google gifts for beauty lovers, and we're going to take a look at the top 10 articles on Google. Then we're going to reach out to each of those bloggers and say, hey, I noticed, you know, you wrote this blog post. Would you consider adding my product to your blog post, right? And it's even better if you can find within the blog post a dead link or an outdated product or something. You could say, oh, hello blogger, I came upon this article and I noticed that this product that you have listed no longer exists. Would you like to insert my product, which is also very relevant to the topic, in your blog post? So the nice thing about that is you're working with an influencer, but they already have the SEO Google juice that they're on the first page of Google, which means that they will likely be sending you some traffic. Okay, so that's just like a little pro tip, kind of like a bonus tip on how to work with influencers. The other way, or the last way that you can look for influencers in your niche, is just go to Instagram or Twitter and search the hashtags. Especially on Instagram, it will tell you like who's in the top 9 for those hashtags. Reach out to the people who are using the hashtags relevant to your niche. And again, it's just a matter of sending them an email if they've got an email in their bio, or sending them a private message via Instagram asking if they're interested. All right. And lastly, you can of course work with LeadDyno, which we'll hear all about from Brett in a little bit. So how to choose an influencer. Okay, so now you probably have a list of influencers that might fit the bill. They're in your category, they're in your niche. but not all influencers are created equal. Okay, and so the example I like to use here is, let's say you had a travel subscription box geared towards families, right? So you're looking for influencers in the travel niche. And so you do your research, you do everything I say, and you have this nice list of influencers. What you want to do at that point is really narrow down that list of influencers to the influencers who speak to traveling families, right? So there are all sorts of subcategories when it comes to travel. You could be single girl traveling or international traveling or RV traveling, right? There are a lot of different subcategories. You want to identify the influencers that are in your direct subcategory. So that way you're speaking to the right audience. If you have a travel box that's geared towards families, there's almost no reason to work with an influencer who's in the single gal traveling space, right? Because her audience are also likely single gals. So it's about identifying the right influencer in your subcategory. And some of the things that you want to look for are number of followers. That can be important. But more importantly is the engagement that this influencer has with their audience, with their followers. Are they responding to the comments? Are they liking their followers' Instagram photos, right? So we do live in a day and age where people can buy followers. And so that's why it's not always the best metric to use in terms of whether you should use an influencer or not. Okay. It's really about the connection that that influencer has with their audience. And for those things, you're going to want to look at number of comments, if they're responding to the comments, the number of likes and that sort of thing, to determine if they genuinely have a connection with their audience. All right, and so now let's talk about reaching out. And it is, guys, it's just as simple as sending an email. And like I said, a lot of these influencers will have sort of press emails in their bio or whatnot, where you could just email them. If not, it's no big deal to send them a private message via whatever social channel that you're finding them on. But it's as simple as like, hi, so-and-so, my name is your name, and I work with, you know, company and niche of your box or your business, excuse me. We're huge fans of your channel. Would love to send you a box in exchange for shout out on social media. Let me know if you'd be interested in chatting more about this, okay? And so of course, two things are gonna happen. One of three things is gonna happen. One, they may not respond, which happens, right? People get busy. If this is an influencer that you absolutely wanna work with, then by all means, continue to reach out. Two, they may come back and say, thanks, but no thanks. I don't think this is a fit for me. I'm sorry. Or three, they'll come back and say, yeah, that sounds good. Send me the box, or yeah, that sounds good. Send me the box and here's my fee. Okay. So some people, depending on the influencers that you're reaching out to, some will be happy to promote your products in exchange for free product. Others, if they have a larger audience, will want a fee. And so let's talk about what those different compensations are. And so again, so compensation, you could do something as cross promotion. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you're working with influencers just to share your content, right? Like you share, they share your content and you share their content. So it's just kind of like a mishmash. And this is really great if you're just starting out and you can partner with someone who's also just starting out, but in the same kind of space, right? So they're more likely to do this kind of setup if they don't have a huge following. They'd be happy to cross promote your stuff if you cross promote their social post. Again, some people just would like a free subscription box. And of course, the examples I'm using here are based on subscription boxes. Some are happy just to get a box and they will, you know, do an Instagram post, do a YouTube video, do a blog post just for the product. Others would like a flat fee. And so that flat fee, and we're going to ask Brett more questions about this, but I'm here to tell you that people, even influencers who have the same amount of followers, for example, let's say we have 2, 3, 4, 5 influencers that all have 50,000 followers. I guarantee you each and every one of them will have a wildly different fee. Okay. I've seen influencers say, sure, I'll do it for $100. And then another influencer with the same amount of followers will say, well, I charge $2,500. There's no sort of standard for compensation for this kind of thing, right? So you're going to have to, I don't want to say shop around, but definitely do your homework and determine what is a good fee for your business. And then, you know, go out and find an influencer who's willing to work with that. And then there is a percentage of sales, and this is kind of like an affiliate setup, which again, we'll talk to Brett about. But an affiliate is where you say, if you promote my product, you will earn 10% of whatever sales you bring to my business. And that can be a nice setup too, because it allows the influencer to make more money, right? So if they're just working on a flat fee of $50, but then you offer to give them $5 per product that they sell, and they go on to sell, you know, 1,000 products, then they've made $5,000 off that one post versus the flat fee they would have got. So depending on, again, which influencers you're working with, some will want a flat fee, others are happy to do an affiliate setup. Okay, so let's, we have just a few more like best practices, and then we're gonna talk to Brett about the questions that you guys already sent in. So best practices, and again, I think Brett will touch on this, but be very clear about your expectations when negotiating with these influencers. Let them know exactly what you expect. It's not enough to send them a product and hope that they'll do the right thing. Give them some speaking points, give them some photos if need be. Let them know, I would like you to do an Instagram post, not a story. It needs to stay up for 30 days. Here's what I expect. Just be very clear, so that way expectations are met on both sides of the equation here. And then also you want to track your influencer performance and then engage the top performers, because if you, you know, if you hit a nice stride with an influencer, it's a good thing to continue that relationship for the simple fact of, I'm sure you've heard of this research statistic that says you have to see something, I don't know, 11 times before you take action on it. Well, if that influencer is working with you continually and their audience is seeing it over and over again, they're more likely to buy. All right, so now we are going to head on over to, let's see here. I'm gonna turn my video back on. Awesome, okay. You can see me, you can see Brett, and you can see the information about LeadDyno there. I'm going to get my questions out for Brett. All right, so Brett, first of all, let's just talk about LeadDyno. So how does LeadDyno work with retailers and influencers?
Sure. So what we give retailers, influencers, affiliates, we give them a dashboard that lets them do some social sharing so that they can share easily on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, via text message, get an affiliate link so they can get it into any email newsletters that they send. So making stuff really easy for them to be able to share. And then affiliate managers like you, me, folks who are on the line, give them the tools they also need to be able to sort of manage and also engage these types of influencers. Just keep these people interested, keep them motivated, keep talking to them, and keep them interested in the program.
Awesome, awesome. So someone wrote in and asked, hold on here, I just lost the question. Oh yeah, okay. What metrics should we be looking at when finding influencers? Is it likes, is it followers, is it views, is it engagement?
Well, I do like what you mentioned, Christy. I think it is, it's important to kind of take the perspective as if you were part of that audience. So as you did, kind of walking through, you go to Google, and if you were looking for beauty products, put yourself in that shoe. So first, where would you be looking? Are you looking for a blog? Are you looking for someone on Instagram? So kind of get that channel dialed in, and then absolutely on the engagement. I think putting yourself in those shoes is important. I think sometimes you put on your business hat and you try to make something fit where the site, I don't know how to put it, it might be well optimized for Google. They might have a lot of followers on Instagram, but they may be good at optimizing their following and not so good at engaging. And I think that shows, it's a mistake I've made before, so I speak from experience, where you see something that's nice, it's set up, but it doesn't really have too much of a heart or soul to it. I think I would say trust your gut on those. You know where your customers are, you know the types of things that would interest them. So just put yourself in that mindset, I think, when you're looking for the influencers.
Absolutely. It's true. It is like you have to go with your gut. You just have an intuition, right? Like you can almost tell the difference between an influencer who doesn't engage and one who's like really pours their heart into their audience. And so you really want to get with the people who are pouring their heart into their audience. On that track though, are there some blatant red flags that we should be looking for when working with an influencer? Like, okay, like avoid at all costs if you see this, this, and this.
You know, I think it's something you see after you get into it. I'm always a fan of sort of testing and with minimal, maybe a minimal upfront investment on your part. I do think, and we may be talking about this ahead here. So I do think it's important to be willing to invest a little bit. The red flags definitely come out afterwards. I do say, if there are some, it's hard to know for sure before you start working with someone. Whether or not it's just not going to go well. And a lot of this is trial and error, and you're looking at followings and how do you really know how engaged that following is. So I'm a big fan of doing lots of little experiments. Now, after you've worked with somebody, even if it's just been on a very modest initial basis, you can look at the way that they are acting, behaving. Like, for example, let's say we do a little sponsorship. It doesn't really work well for us, doesn't really promote too well for us. I would want that person to be concerned about that, or at least ask me how it went for us versus trying to sell me the next set of advertising, trying to sell me something else. So I think you definitely see that after the first time you work with somebody. It is hard to know up front, but that's where I think it's important to do as many little experiments as you can as you get into this.
Okay, and so that actually leads me into the next question. Do you think there is a best platform to work with influencers on? Is it YouTube, is it Instagram, Facebook, or bloggers? Or is that part of your like testing and experimenting process?
I think it is part of the testing, experimenting. I mean, each business is a little different in terms of what will work. Me, myself, I like the multi-channel side of things. So I like, maybe a little old school with it, but I like when they have the blog as the home base and then they have the Facebook channel. Maybe they're doing something on YouTube. The folks who are on one platform only, not that it can't work, but I like seeing the multi-channel stuff versus the Instagram only versus the YouTube only. So I like them having a lot of action going on in different places. And my experience still having that, the traditional email list where they can click and call and have that call to action is important. And really when you're working for conversions, I do think that is something to keep in mind, because when you think about YouTube, it's tough to get a link. It's tough to get that call to action directly in the video. Same with Instagram. And they do it on purpose where you can't get the links directly in the post. So it's a little tougher to get a call to action from Instagram. Not that it can't work, but it's a little more nuanced than, for example, if you're just throwing a Facebook post that has a direct link, or an email newsletter where you got a direct link, or a blog post where you have a direct link and then they're on your website and they are rolling from there. So YouTube, Instagram might be a little more nuanced in terms of how you're going to get that traffic. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about that platform.
Yeah, and I would say that again, it kind of depends on what your goal, right? If you're not necessarily working with influencers to get conversions and you're just looking for brand awareness, then it might be a better idea to do YouTube or Instagram and not have to worry about the conversion links or whatnot.
Yeah, that's a good point. And on the conversion, it's tough to track every conversion. Anyone who's done online marketing knows that's kind of a feel thing also, where you do something, you can have your conversion link. You can if you're doing maybe sponsoring a podcast, you tell them to use that code, some promo code. I know it's a pain to set up and not everyone uses that code. So you do have to kind of have a feel for, okay, I did this promo on this day and this seemed to happen over the next week. So there is a little bit of a feel to it. There's a little combination art and science. Tough to measure every single click and conclude it from there as well. So good points there. You might do some sponsoring on YouTube. They mention you and then you see good things happen in the coming weeks. So that's maybe an argument also for doing maybe working with one influencer at a time versus having maybe multiple campaigns going on. Might be a little harder to track each one.
Yeah, of course. All right. That's good advice. Okay. So someone's asking, how should we determine an appropriate fee to pay influencers? That is the most asked question when it comes to working with influencers or affiliates.
Okay. Good question. And another one, it does depend on the business. We actually did a breakdown, and I've got the numbers here, where we looked at our affiliate network and we looked at the top, basically 210 programs in the network. So we have 21 product categories, and then split that up. And this is a link, Christy, we can provide everyone with after if they would like to see this. But that just gave them, we gave a breakdown. So I took the top 10 programs, so 10 of the more successful programs in each category, and what percentage of the sale were they paying their affiliate partner. So I think it always helps to think about this in terms of percentage of the sale. I think that's the goal as a marketer, as a business owner for us, is we want to pay a percentage, then we're always coming out ahead. And that's a easier number for us to get our head around. Now, that said, it is easier to get an influencer's attention if you offer to pay them some fee, which is something that you've mentioned. So that's where I usually, my strategy is I like to ask somebody up front if they have a media kit. I find that's always those are two words they love to hear. And once they hear that, they are thrilled to throw something my way or make something up, act like they have a kit. What that does, it lets them know that you're serious about paying something up front. In terms of what a fair thing is to pay up front, I always like to if I can get started with a few $100s, I think that's ideal. I like to keep it under $1,000 if it's just an experiment. Now, if we're doing that, we might just be buying the advertising and not doing the recurring commission or not doing any sort of commission aspect. So that might be something that we introduce later on. But I'm always kind of game for, if something looks good, you spend a few $100s, you spend $500 on it as a marketing test. I think that's a fair thing to say. Now, that does kind of keep you down from the A-list folks won't be interested in that. But in my experience, I think that's fine. These days, a lot of the lower, I don't want to say lower, but maybe the folks with the smaller audiences, they might be smaller, but they do tend to be even more responsive than kind of those big Kardashian level
right.
Following. So that's where I would encourage you to look. You can you can set up these smaller tests and see how it works out for you there.
Yeah. Is there a minimum number of followers that our merchants should be looking for? So, you know, if a person has less than 1,000 followers or 5,000 followers, you'll probably want to move on. Is there that magic number when it comes to followers?
I don't think there's a magic number, because I think an email list of 1,000 or 1,000 followers could be productive, but it is a matter of your time as well, where out of that, you're only going to get clicks and conversions from a certain number of people. So whether or not it's worth your time to manage that relationship, if somebody only has maybe a following of 1,000, may not be worth it. So that's where you may be looking into the thousands. But of course, then you get into the 10,000s, and now you're going to get more of the polished media kit being sent your way, which basically means it's going to be more money for you. So there is a sweet spot in there where you can get some sort of scale for your effort, and then it's not going to cost you too much money up front either. And also, they might be more willing to work with you in terms of doing something on a commission basis, or you advertise a little bit here, but then you can do a lot of it on that commission only basis.
Yeah. Okay. That's really great advice. So you said asking for a media kit from influencers gets them excited. Is there anything else, any kind of other little tips that you could give us that would incentivize influencers to want to work with our brands?
The media kit's always great. It gets them excited, gets them going. And then any person who you want to be working with long-term, then they take an interest. They want to learn about your product. So that's good to start the relationship. So I usually start there. And then once things are rolling, what I'll often do as an act of goodwill, even if I paid for some sort of advertisement up front, is I will offer them an affiliate link. They may take it, they may not. It's kind of given them the opportunity to double dip on that, because they've already gotten paid for the ad that we're running or whatever sponsored post we're doing. But I'm saying, hey, if you'd like to earn some commissions off of this as a kicker, we're in this together. I think it's a nice act of goodwill. And oftentimes you'll find that not only will they take you up on that, but then they will go into previous posts like you were talking about, Christy, and they may replace that link. And it may have a similar products that they're not working with anymore, and they may just go ahead and put your link into those posts. So that can be a good way to kick things off. And I do like to start that early. It's not the first thing that I say, but it is after that kind of we're getting into the media kit thing. Maybe we've got something established where then we go into the commission, the affiliate relationship.
Awesome. Cool. All right, guys. So I have one more question for Brett, and then we're going to go into your questions. So be sure that you're putting them in clicking on the Q&A icon and putting them in that channel so we can answer them. All right. So my last question for you is about tracking. How do we track all of these efforts that we're doing with influencers?
Good question. So that is going to come in the affiliate tracking, some sort of affiliate tracking software product like ours. So that's what you're going to want to look for. You're going to need some sort of affiliate tracking in place. That's actually why we originally started LeadDyno back in the day, is that I was working with people who were referring product from my previous company, and we needed a way to track that. So that's what you're going to want to look for. Some sort of link tracking. Affiliate link tracking is kind of the industry terms that you're going to want to look for, because that's what you're going to want to provide your influencers with. Also helpful if they have some sort of discount or coupon code support as well. If you find cases, things such as Instagram, it may be easier for the influencer to share, and they'll say, hey, use discount code. Let's use discount code LeadDyno, get a discount here. So that it's nice to be able to track that and then reward that back to the original source. So that's the type of technology that you're looking for. And a lot of platforms these days, they've got products that can plug in and get you off and running with that type of link tracking.
Awesome. And guys, it is so important to track your influencer outreach. So it's not enough to just like send them a box and then they post and then you have no idea what happens from that. You know what I mean? Like you really need to track so you can look at your return on the investment. I came up with another question while you were talking, Brett. Do you have any research as to whether using a coupon, if an influencer uses a coupon code, actually increases the number of conversions that happen? You may not have that research, and I apologize for asking you off the cuff, but I just thought it might be interesting. Sure.
Yeah, I don't have research offhand. Anecdotally on it, I think the discounts are good, and just speaking from kind of conversations that I have, they're good. They do inspire the people then to take action. So I think it's a good way to get them to use the code, some sort of that verbal promo code, or within Instagram, that code. Good way to get them to do it. Now you do have to also keep in mind that if you're doing a discount, you're paying the influencer commission. Those are two things there. So you keep that in mind in terms of your margins. I found, again, kind of anecdotally, but 5% discount, 10% discount. As soon as people hear discount, it's a discount. So right. I don't think you have to go deep in terms of that. I don't think you have to go crazy on the discount. I'd rather go generous in terms of the commission you're offering your influencers and kind of keep the discount modest. People find a way to use that. They're already getting a sale on it.
That is some solid advice. Okay, we have a couple questions here. So Cynthia's asking, should we approach influencers who are already affiliated with our competitors?
Yeah, I don't see a reason why not. I mean, it's one of those things where it's definitely good validation that they're already working with one of your competitors. Now, you don't know what the current relationship is. It could be that they're no longer working with them. So in that case, it might be worth having that conversation. I haven't had any bad experiences in my case working with someone who was already working with a competitor, and where that hurt us from a competitive standpoint. So I think it's worth having the conversation. Now, let me say this. If they do share inside stuff about your competitor that if you flip the script, you wouldn't want somebody to know, that might be a red flag for you also. So I think the way that you would want them to act is to kind of be respectful of that relationship, even if it's a previous relationship. Make sure they're not divulging too much about that, about your competitor either. That might be a little bit of a character tip off as well. So I don't see a reason why not to have the conversation at least, and you can just kind of be a friend, whether you want to say that you know you work with them or not. I mean, they may volunteer that. So it's always worth having a conversation and just kind of seeing where it goes from there.
Is it commonplace to have a non-compete? For example, let's say I reach out to an influencer and say, hey, I'm interested in working with you, but if you work with me, I don't want you to work with any of our competitors. Does that happen?
I haven't done any formal non-competes, but I would say that is that should be kind of a handshake understanding that if I'm working with one of our partners, I don't want them working with one of our competitors. So that would be, I would expect that to be stated and understood, and I would expect that to just kind of happen. I'm not sure if, I mean, you definitely could sign a non-compete. It's one of those things you kind of, that's what you would want them to just, how they would handle themselves, as they wouldn't do. And I've had that happen where we've had partners who they don't do competitive products. They will do complementary products, and they'll kind of check with me and say, hey, Brett, I think you guys are competitive with these or complementary with these guys. Is it cool? And I'm like, yeah, no, we have an integration. It's fine. and you can go ahead with that. So that's what I would expect to hear if we had someone in our industry approach someone they wanted to work with them as well.
Okay. So someone's asking, should I use a contract when I work with an influencer? And if so, where can I find one?
Contract, so you could do a terms of service agreement. So this is something that we have baked in within LeadDyno, where when someone signs up for the affiliate program, they have to opt into terms of service. So those would be just in general terms of service that you have there, you flash up and then they check the box when they join. So that would be fine. I don't think you need to have these one-off contracts being signed. I think what you want to do is get people into your program and get them ramped up and get them working with you. So to get that kind of scale, if you end up doing these one-offs, and I've done it before, and it just ends up taking too much time to have people sign individual contracts, and then they want to tweak some language here, tweak some language there. So I think it's fine to have a general terms of service, and you have them opt into it, and then they're off and running from there.
Okay. What are some assets that we should be providing to our influencers?
Good question. So we've got social media shortcuts that we recommend providing for them. So that's something we happen to have within LeadDyno, where you can update. You can basically pre-write a Facebook post, pre-write a tweet. It's things that take you and I a few minutes, but if you think about over how you're saving time across all of your partners, that's a nice to have. I also find that having this stuff for them makes them much more likely to share. Whereas if you had them compose something from scratch, and I know it's easy to write a tweet, I know it's easy to write a Facebook post, but then you got to think of it, your partners, affiliate partners, influencers, they're as busy as you and I are these days. And if they didn't have this stuff ready to go, they might just not hit that share button. So it's a big advantage having this stuff ready to go on the social media side. Banner ads, good as well. I mean, not as big a deal these days with social media being so prevalent. So you probably get more run on the social media side, but I think it's good to have some banner ads. Maybe you toss up an infographic, and that's something that you have the link embedded, so that if your influencer, let's say they sell some banners on their site, and 1 month, and this happens, they haven't sold all their inventory, so they'll just run your banner because, hey, at least they're going to get a commission from folks who click through. So I think that type of stuff is good. And then the other thing I recommend is sending out affiliate newsletters, and these are good ways to kind of keep everyone and keep the troops engaged. I do it when I send out the commissions. That's a nice trick. You get everyone's attention. You let them know money's going out the door. They want to see if they're getting paid, and they go back to what we call their little dashboard, and they've got all their sharing stuff there. So those are nice ways also to engage folks. So you kind of set the stuff up once, and then on a monthly basis, I think if you talk to them, that's helpful as well.
Yeah, you always want to engage and let them know what's new with your business, what's new with your product, so they can find new ways to promote you. All right, we have another question. Should we as merchants also create a media kit? Is that helpful?
In terms of someone advertising, I'm trying to think of the context. So I guess it would be someone advertising with you. I don't think it's going to be, well, what you'll want to do on the merchant side, I do think you'll want to advertise some sort of affiliate influencer program. So I think that's what that would be the term is, because if you're a publisher, you call it a media kit. I think from the merchant side, you're going to want to call it a partner or affiliate program or influencer or reseller program. Probably affiliate or influencer program are going to be the terms. But in that case, absolutely. So in a one-pager on the website is perfect. Talk about your program. Talk about where they can go to sign up for it. A direct link to some sign-up page would be helpful. And again, that's where the affiliate tracking software would come in. You'd be able to link to that sign-up page and then talk about what your revenue share is. I think from a percentage standpoint would be good. And it can be a range, but you say, hey, we pay 10%, we pay 15% of the sales. You can sign up here. We pay frequently, we pay monthly, and then talk about some of the benefits and talk about your product, because your product's unique. That's why they're looking for you. So I think that absolutely good to have something like that on your website. You'll find you post it there, and people are going to be looking for that, and you'll get people signing up, requesting to join, or just joining if you let them join automatically, just all the time.
Awesome. All right. So those are all the questions that came in through our Q&A. So we're just going to wrap up here. Brett, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Like I said, this is such a hot topic in subscription school, so I'm glad that we got the opportunity to talk about it, and people got the opportunity to have their their questions answered. So at this point, guys, again, I'm Christy with Cratejoy, and all week long we have webinars happening. Tomorrow we will be talking about shipping with ShipStation, and you can find out more about that at cratejoy.com/sell/blog. There's a blog post that has registration links to all of our webinars. And I'm going to let Brett let you know where you can reach out to him if you have any more questions or if you want to sign up with LeadDyno. So Brett, let them know how they can find you.
Oh, sure. LeadDyno.com. So it's 2D. So it's LeadDyno.com. You can get to your little live chat operators who will pop up so they can help you. Anyone you find there can find me if you have follow-up questions for me or Brett at LeadDyno. So it's BRETT at LeadDyno.com. That'll go to me also. So if you have any specific questions about general influencer marketing, happy to follow up with you there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, and goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next time.